G'day guys, welcome back. I'm just going to do a little pour today. After that huge swipe yesterday, I don't really feel like doing anything big, but do feel like pouring anyway. Have the day off work, so I'm going to try something a little bit different today. I'm going to do a flip and drag, and I'm going to see what happens with less silicone. I'm only going to use one drop in my colours and just see what happens. I'm trying for cells that are more separated and haven't all sort of merged in together, so that's what I'm going to try and do. This is just a piece of recycled cardboard, 30 centimetres by 40 centimetres. I think it's 12 by 16 inches. It's 400 grams, so it's a nice weight, and they're good to practice on. You don't have to always do a canvas. Floetrol is what I'm using for my base, and today I have some pretty aqua golden acrylics, got some ultraviolet, and one of the new colours from Global Hibiscus, pink colour, and one that I use a lot, the cool blue. The cool blue does thicken up quite a lot, so I tend to use more 4:1 with the Global. It does thicken up a little bit more than the other colours, so some of the colours do. Colours like magenta are really runny. You can get away with 2:1, but each colour is different. If you're using Liquitex Basics with your Floetrol, 4:1 will give you the same consistency as the Global. When you do that, you can see the paint sort of sits on top for a second. You can see the line it makes before it disappears. So you know that's a good consistency. Sort of sits on top of the stick, and then when you tilt it, it runs off. Now for cells today, I'm using Dimethicone 1000. You can get Dimethicone 300, which is thinner. This is quite thick, really. And I put it into my squeeze bottle, so it's easy just to get one drop out. Now, as I said today, I'm going to just try less silicone today, so one drop in each colour. One, and one. A little bit more in this turquoise, so I will just, one more. There we go, one for luck. None in the white. White's our background colour. The white, because I want it to be thinner, I want these colours to go underneath the white. I've made it 4 parts Floetrol to 1 part Global White. Got my little cup here. I'm just going to poke some holes in the centre, in the bottom if I can. Noisy. This will just help release the air when I flip the cup. Okay, I'm not going to tape it. There won't be a lot of paint coming through the bottom. If you're concerned, you can put a bit of tape over the bottom, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so with your stirring, one stir. Once your silicone's gone in, just the one. Once round with your stick. That's it. The more you stir, the more you're going to break up your silicone, and you're going to get small cells. No silicone in, or dimethicone in the white. Pour that on. Quite a lot of white here. I want it quite thick. I want the paint floating around easily on the white. Don't want the paint scraping the bottom. So I want most of the paint in the centre, but I do want the edges covered, so I'm just going to use my little spatula just to bring the paint to the edges. Once I flip the cup, we will tilt and cover pretty much the whole sheet here. Bit of canvas, cardboard paper. What's that? Lump. I'm using my cup from yesterday, so it's got a bit of dried paint in it. Not a good idea really. I should use fresh cups, fresh stirrers each time. Okay, that's covered. I write on the back of my card before I start what colours I've used, what ratios I've done, how many drops of Dimethicone I've used, so that if it works, I've got something to refer back to, and if it doesn't work, I've got something to refer back to. Right, now in our little cup, I'll hold it like that just to stop the paint from pouring out the bottom. Just going to layer the colours. I only want one of each colour in there. So just layer them nicely. I don't want them mixing. These colours will make mud. And flip. Just let that sit for a minute, let the colours drop down. Just release the pressure, let the paint cup sit on top of the paint, not touching the cardboard at all. Just going to move through. There we go. Let's see what that does. Still lots of cells coming up, as you can see, with that one drop of Dimethicone in each colour. Haven't used all the paint. We only used about a third of it. Don't want too much colour on here, would like a bit of white negative space. And then I've got some more colours made up for my next little experiment later. Got my little heat gun, a heat torch. I'm going to just torch it, see what happens. See if we can get any more cells to pop up. Okay, now we'll just start tilting and see what happens. Nice and gently, one corner at a time. I really like that big blob there, so I'm going to get rid of that. Do want a bit of negative space, so I'll leave the white there. Get rid of that blob. Come back, bring the paint back to the centre of your board or your canvas, whatever you're working on, before you start tilting the other way. I'll go up that corner next. Nice and slowly. Got some white lacing happening there. The colours have gone underneath the white, as I said earlier. White's popped up onto the top because it's thinner, less floetrol in it. So it's kind of sitting on the top, creating some pretty lacing. Not really liking that corner there very much either. I'll get rid of that. There we go. Bring the weight back to the centre. You can see where the paint is. You can see where most of it is. Just going to turn it around and do the other side. I'll just put a bit more paint on actually. I don't want to stretch this out too much. So just put a little bit more paint in our little flip cup. hard to judge when you're adding paint how much you're actually going to use. Purple was quite dominant in this, as you can see, so I'll just pop a little bit of purple in there. Try for a little bit more blue this time. If you're doing a really big canvas, you can do lots of cups and move them where you want to. Okay, it's got a little bit more blue in it this time. Torch again. Where the colour's gone under the white, we're getting that pretty lacing again. A little bit of a bald spot there, which we'll need to tilt and cover. Let's put a little bit of white on that spot there that the cardboard's showing through. Okay, now these cells aren't huge, but as I tilt, they will stretch. This area here will stretch a little bit, but because it's relatively thin, it's not going to stretch a lot more. Bring the paint back to the centre. We'll do that last corner there. And then we'll be done. Don't really like working with purples and reds all that much, but should do something a little bit different to my usual blues that I use all the time. I thought I'd give it a go. Okay, bring the weight back to the centre. Quite a lot of paint on here still. You can see how freely it's moving. That's okay, you need a lot of paint if you want to create pretty cells, because the paint has to be able to move on its own, on top of each other. Now we'll just torch a little bit, get rid of any air bubbles that we may have, bring up a few more cells under this white here. And that's it. If you are using cardboard like this, or a sheet out of a painting pad, every day use your little spatula or a knife, go around the outside underneath like this, loosen your sheet, otherwise it will stick. If you leave it there for a few days without moving it, the paint that's gone over the edge will stick to it and you won't get it up. So every day just go around. It's going to take about 4 days to dry. So there we go. Yeah, not quite sure about the colours, but still got a heap of cells from just one drop of dimethicone. Got some pretty lacing happening. So overall, I think quite a good experiment. See you next time.